Now let's start with Killua, Silva and Kikyo's third kid. Killua is the star of the Zoldyck family, and honestly one of the coolest protagonists in the series. Despite being raised in this murdery, stabby environment, the kid's got a moral compass that points straight to friendship and loyalty. I mean, sure, he can zap you with electricity, because of course, his nin type is transmutation, so why not throw in some lightning? But deep down, he's all about protecting his friends. His whole journey is about trying to figure out how to be his own person, and not just another cog in the Zoldyck murder machine. Killua is an enigma, no doubt about it. His line, "People only find me interesting because they can't tell whether I'm serious or not," is classic Killua. Clever, self-aware, and deeply misleading. But the truth is, we know exactly why Killua's interesting, and it's not just because of some playful ambiguity. It's because of who he truly is beneath that cool assassin exterior. A kid who wants nothing more than to escape his violent past and live a normal life with his friends. At the heart of it all, Killua is a contradiction. He's a deadly assassin, raised in a family where human life is disposable, yet he possesses an incredible capacity for empathy, love, and loyalty. His bond with Gon is the clearest manifestation of this. As he once said, "I'm tired of killing. I just want to be a kid, hanging out, doing stuff with Gon, that's it." And that's exactly what makes Killua fascinating. Not the mystery, but his struggle to escape it. He's someone who constantly fights against the path set out for him, driven by a genuine desire to change. Let's be real, Killua isn't just interesting because of his complex personality. He's also insanely cool. Whether it's downing poison like it's water, pulling off impossible stunts with a skateboard, or unleashing his Godspeed abilities, Killua embodies a kind of effortless badassery that's hard to look away from. But that's all just window dressing. What makes him truly unforgettable is the emotional depth beneath it. The real magic happens in his quieter moments, his heart-to-heart with Gon, or when he protects Alluka, risking everything to save her from the twisted grip of their family. Killua's journey is about breaking free from a cycle of violence and control. It's this internal conflict that makes him one of the most well-rounded characters ever written, period. Sure, he's from a world where power and survival reign supreme, but what sets him apart is his refusal to be defined by those things. He doesn't just want to live, he wants to live on his own terms, as a friend, a brother, and a person who's capable of more than just killing. Silva. And speaking of Zoldyck murder machines, let's get to Silva. This guy's the big boss of the family, a total powerhouse. With his long silver hair and those muscles that scream, "Don't mess with me," Silva's the definition of intimidation. Cool under pressure? Check. Master assassin? Double check. And his nin abilities? Yeah, we don't know all the details, but when he fought chrollo Lucifer, remember that epic episode 52 showdown? He casually whipped out these massive nin spheres that pretty much laid waste to everything around him. Enhancer vibes, anyone? This guy doesn't just play with nin, he dominates it. But what's super interesting is his relationship with his kids, especially Killua. Silva isn't just a strict emotionless assassin dad. Okay, he is that too, but he also sees Killua's potential. There's this complicated mentor-student thing going on, where he's simultaneously trying to mold Killua into the next family assassin, while also giving him some space to do his own thing. It's a delicate balance between duty and fatherhood, and let's just say Silva handles it like a boss. Kikyo. Moving on with the Zoldyck madness with Kikyo, the mommy dearest of the family. Kikyo Zoldyck, Silva's devoted wife and Killua's overbearing mother, really takes the idea of helicopter parenting to the next level. Except this helicopter is flying straight out of an assassin's compound. Draped in traditional clothing and bandages over her eyes. Yeah, we're not sure why either. Kikyo's got a serious thing for family honor and discipline. And her mission in life? To make sure Killua becomes the ultimate killer, like the GOAT assassin. She's constantly fawning over her son's greatness, to the point where it's more than just a little smothering. But hey, it's all in the name of upholding those Zoldyck traditions, right? Now as for her skills, we don't see them as often as we do with Silva or her kids. Don't let that fool you. You know, if you're married into the Zoldyck family, you gotta have some serious combat chops. Nin mastery? Probably. Combat training? Absolutely. But Kikyo's role seems more about keeping her kids, especially Killua, in line with the whole assassin family legacy thing than just showing off her battle skills. She's all about making sure no one in the family forgets their duty. Kind of a scary life coach with daggers for eyes. Zeno. Next up, Zeno Zoldyck, the wise old grandpa of the family. But don't let the gray hair fool you. Zeno could take you down in the blink of an eye, even if he does look like he should be playing chess in the park. This dude is packing some serious nin abilities, and he's been around the block enough times to have seen it all. Zeno specializes in manipulation and emission techniques. And oh yeah, did we mention he can conjure a freaking dragon out of his aura? Yeah, that happened. Dude literally throws a dragon at his enemies like it's no big deal. Zeno's got mad respect for his family, especially his grandson Killua. He's the kind of grandpa who gives wise advice, but he's also not going to step in and micromanage everything. He's there to guide, not smother, unlike Killua, who's probably crocheting assassin rules into a pillow somewhere. Zeno's got the perfect balance of experience and wisdom, and that makes him not just a formidable fighter, but a key figure in the Zoldyck dynasty. Illumi. Now let's talk about the absolute unit that is Illumi Zoldyck. If there ever was a character who oozes creepy old brother vibes, it's this guy. Silva and Kikyo's eldest son, Illumi, is the master of manipulation, and we mean that literally. He can control people using his needles, which, let's face it, is terrifying. You know you're dealing with a serious psychopath when their favorite hobby is turning people into puppets. His long black hair and those emotionless eyes, classic. Don't mess with me energy. He's cold, calculating, and shows about as much warmth as a refrigerator. Illumi's relationship with Killua? Oh boy, it's a mess. On one hand, Illumi's fiercely protective of his little brother. But on the other hand, he's not above using fear and manipulation to make sure Killua sticks to the assassin path. He's like that older sibling who wants the best for you, but also kind of low-key ruins your life in the process. And don't even get us started on his weird dynamic with Hisoka. Friends? Allies? Frenemies? Who even knows at this point? All we know is, with Illumi around, things are bound to get complicated. Alluka. Alluka Zoldyck is one of the most complex and misunderstood characters in Hunter x Hunter, largely because of the entity they share their body with, Nanika. Now, technically speaking, Alluka doesn't have powers of their own. Instead, they coexist with Nanika, an entity that, for lack of a better term, seems borderline omnipotent. Nanika's ability to grant wishes is one of the most mysterious and terrifying forces in the Hunter x Hunter universe. We know that Nanika can grant any wish someone asks for, but healing at least seems to require physical contact. Beyond that, the limitations of Nanika's powers remain largely unknown. Here's the thing, Nanika operates under a very specific set of rules. Alluka can make 3 requests of a person, and after those 3 are fulfilled, Nanika wakes up, ready to grant a wish. Once the wish is granted, Alluka takes back control, and the cycle begins again. But there's a catch. The wish granted impacts the difficulty of Alluka's next requests. If someone makes a simple wish, like asking for a kiss, the next 3 requests Alluka makes will be relatively harmless, maybe a hug, a game, and something equally innocuous. But if someone makes a massive world-altering wish, like asking for $1 billion, the next time Alluka makes requests, they'll be far more severe, like demanding body parts or organs. And yes, it's just as horrifying as it sounds. One of the most chilling aspects of this dynamic is the penalty for refusing Alluka's requests. You can say no twice, but the 3rd time you refuse, you die. And depending on the severity of the previous wish, the death toll doesn't stop with just you. Bigger, more complicated wishes trigger chain reactions of death, starting with people connected to the refuser and expanding outward, sometimes in random directions until the required toll is paid in full. Killua, being the protective and loving brother that he is, has found ways to exploit these rules for good. And one of the most tense moments of this series, Killua uses a conditional wish to ensure that no one in the Zoldyck family interferes with their escape from the mansion. He cleverly wishes that if they safely make it down the mountain, he'll get a kiss, but if they don't, their mother dies. Classic Zoldyck family sentiment, right? Luckily, they make it down just fine. Killua gets his kiss, and the subsequent requests from Alluka are as harmless as you would expect from a simple wish like that. But here's where things get really interesting, and where the so-called rules might not be as rigid as we think. Killua seems to be immune to some of the nastier aspects of Nanika's conditions. For one, he doesn't experience the usual severity jump in request after making bigger wishes. Many fans believe that's because both Nanika and Alluka genuinely care for Killua, and they bend the rules for him because unlike the rest of the Zoldycks, Killua actually treats them with kindness and love. This implies that the whole system of requests and consequences might be more flexible than it appears. Nanika doesn't necessarily need Alluka to go through the whole 3-request cycle to grant wishes. They just do it because that's how things have always worked. With Killua, they operate differently, perhaps because of the bond they share. It raises some tantalizing possibilities about the true nature of Nanika and the depth of their connection to Alluka, as well as how much of this is less about strict rules and more about emotions and relationships. In the end, the dynamic between Alluka and Nanika challenges our understanding of power, family, and control in the Hunter x Hunter universe. For all the darkness that surrounds their abilities, what stands out most is Killua's unwavering love and protection for both Alluka and Nanika, showing that even in a family as twisted as the Zoldycks, there's still room for compassion. And maybe, just maybe, that's the real magic behind Alluka and Nanika's power. Milluki. Milluki Zoldyck. Where to even begin with this guy? In a family of cold-blooded, highly trained assassins, Milluki is the outlier. Don't let his lack of combat prowess fool you. He's a tech wizard with a knack for invention, and his role in the Zoldyck family is far from insignificant. If you ever needed proof that being a Zoldyck doesn't necessarily mean excelling in hand-to-hand combat, Milluki is Exhibit A. While his brothers are out there flipping through high-stakes battles and manipulating minds, Milluki is holed up in his room, surrounded by computers, gadgets, and inventions, working his magic behind the scenes. What Milluki lacks in physical combat skills, he makes up for with his intellect and technological prowess. He's a hacker, inventor, and all-around tech guru who keeps the family operations running smoothly from the shadows. Sure, he's got a serious case of sibling envy, especially towards Killua, whose assassin skills are next level. But that doesn't mean Milluki isn't a key player in his own right. His talents are just different. He's not going to match Killua in a fight, but he can build the tech that makes those fights possible. Case in point, Milluki is the one who set Killua up with the Greed Island game. Without Milluki's knowledge and skills, Killua might have been stuck watching from the sidelines. Milluki also created some of the family's most inventive assassination tools, including a micro-sized bomb designed to be placed on a mosquito. Yeah, you heard that right, mosquito bombs. Once the mosquito bites its target, boom. Talk about killing someone with a tiny sting. And let's not forget Killua's yo-yos. Those things are as deadly as they are iconic. And yes, they were Milluki's brainchild too. So while Milluki might not be out there physically taking down targets, he's definitely providing the tools and tech that make it happen. His inventions prove that there's more to being a Zoldyck than just brute force. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Milluki's not exactly a powerhouse when it comes to fighting. But does that really matter? The Zoldyck family is a well-oiled machine, and every member has their role. Milluki just happens to be more tech-oriented. Not every assassin has to be a frontline fighter. We've seen this dynamic in other groups too. Take the Zodiacs, for example. Some of them aren't the strongest fighters, yet they're still critical members of their team. The Phantom Troop, the Spiders, has a similar setup. Remember Kurapika? He wasn't known for his combat skills, but he was absolutely essential to Chrollo and the troop's operations, providing irreplaceable support. Milluki fills a similar niche in the Zoldyck family. He's the guy who gathers information, builds deadly gadgets, and murders targets from a distance. Killua. And finally we get to Killua Zoldyck, the youngest member of the clan, but already carving a name out for himself. Killua is an assassin in training, and if that wasn't enough pressure, he also joined up with the infamous Phantom Troop. Now that's not something just anyone can do. Joining the troop means Killua already has made a name for himself as a deadly force. His combat style? Oh, it's as stylish as it is lethal. Killua manipulates paper with pinpoint accuracy, using it like a weapon to slice through enemies with ease. Yeah, paper cuts have never been this deadly. Killua's journey is all about proving himself. Growing up in a family like the Zoldycks means there's a lot to live up to. And Killua's drive to make his mark is intense. He's got a complicated relationship with his siblings, especially Killua and Illumi. There's admiration, but also a burning desire to be recognized and respected in his own right. Killua might be young, but his dedication to becoming stronger is no joke. He's well on his way to becoming a force to be reckoned with, both in the Zoldyck family and the criminal underworld. Maha. Now, if you think Silva or Zeno are scary, Maha is on a whole other level. This guy is the oldest known member of the Zoldyck family, and despite being shrouded in secrecy, his reputation speaks for itself. In fact, the only solid information we have about Maha is enough to send chills down anyone's spine. He fought Isaac Netero, the former head of the Hunter Association, to a draw. And if you know anything about Netero, that is a huge deal. Maha might not get much screen time, but his mere existence is enough to cement the Zoldyck status as a family that's been wielding power for generations. There's also a ton of speculation around him. Some fans even theorize that his strength and longevity might be tied to the Dark Continent. It's believed that Maha could have encountered something on the Dark Continent that gave him his immense power, keeping him alive and strong all these years. While we don't have concrete evidence, the idea of Maha having links to the Dark Continent fits right into the Zoldyck's mysterious otherworldly vibe. The fact that Maha remains in the shadows also highlights how deep the Zoldyck's family's roots go. They're not just a family of assassins, they're practically a dynasty of unmatched killers, stretching back generations with untapped potential we've only scratched the surface of. Maha's presence alone emphasizes the sheer depth of the Zoldyck legacy, and hints that there could be even more untold stories of power lurking within this family. Who's your favorite Zoldyck? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.